But notice his nice gold chain. You can't never know it's gold, but this dude knew how to dress. And he also was one of the founders of the National Black Baptist Convention in 1880. So he was a very good guy. Now this guy over here is my father's oldest brother. His name is Joseph Perry Phillips. And there's another Joseph Perry Phillips in the house. Joseph Perry? Now the reason I named my son Joseph Perry was because I'm a junior, and I did not want to impose upon my son of being a third. And so that was too much. So I said, well, at least I can give him, I did not get my father's middle name, which was Perry. So I gave Joseph my father's middle name, Perry. So those are two great guys. Now his oldest son was my first cousin of mine, who almost became president of Tuskegee University. His name is Sidney Phillips, and he is responsible for the Booker T. Washington Birthplace Memorial, which is near Roanoke. And he's also responsible for the Booker T. Washington $50. Now, next picture, Joe. This is my dad. Now, John Carter, my best friend, my brother, he says, this guy doesn't take any stuff. He saw the other pictures that were flashing on the wall, and that's right, he didn't take any stuff. And so for my father, I got courage. He was a great man. He did not take stuff. Okay, next, Joe. Now this is my mother's father. His name was Henry Thurman. And he owned more than 40 acres, and more than one mule. He was a very good entrepreneur who would ride his nice carriage, horse-drawn carriage, into Lexington, Mississippi. And, okay, anyway.
He built all the houses on that street.
Okay, carpenter. That's how he made his do? Money? Oh, that's cool. I didn't recall that. Okay, next picture. Oh. Well, that's me running one of the New York marathons near the end. But that was, the New York marathons were fun because you finished in Central Park. But that's not the picture I expected. Take your time yet. My first marathon was New York 1977. That was the second time they had an all 5-year-old marathon. My time was 4 hours and 6 minutes. A year later, I had 11 friends from IB of running it that day, and I beat all of my friends except for one. And so when there were only about 10,000 people running the New York City Marathon then. And of my first marathon, there were only about 6,000. So we all fitted on one side of the Verrazano's Narrows Bridge. But anyway, okay, that's my mother. You'll have to turn your head to the side. But she was a fantastic lady. One of the great reasons I'm here right now is because of her. She gave me spirit and passion and love. Anyway, so if you turn your head to the side, you can see her mother gave her the name Dads80 Lanola Thurman. Her mother told her that she heard her name came over her left or right ear. Which would you know? Left shoulder, okay. And so that's where the name Dads80 came from. So anyway, she's a great, great lady, responsible for my passion, courage, well, courage for my father, but my love for learning. Because she was a college graduate. She graduated from Livingstone College in Salisbury, North Carolina in the class of 1927. She went there to become a missionary, so the stock market crashed a couple of years later, so they couldn't send her to Africa. So Muna, this is my passion for Africa. I get it from her. So anyway, okay, very well. So much for my ancestors. She was born in 1900, a fantastic lady. Now, I would like to introduce my family, my kids. And I'd like to have Malcolm introduce his 2 children. Okay? Now, what I have to say about Reginald Phillips is this. Reg?
Hi,
Reg, I love you. Now, I've learned from people. My wives, they've taught me a lot. They've taught me how to be a human being. And I've had 3. I have none here to show up today. Anyway. From women, I learned to be a better human being. No question about it. But for my children, I learned so much. They still teach me. In fact, from Reggie, I learned compassion. He has more compassion than I do. He's learning to work through people, and I really love that for him. So I learned from you compassion. Raphael.
Hey.
Hey, dude. From Raphael, I learned determination. Now, I told Raphael that, Raphael, you should study engineering or science because you can always make money. He says, no, I'm an artist. And he took a degree from Savannah College of Art and Design, and he was making more money working at Rockstar as a computer animationist than my MN students graduating from Cornell. Significantly more.
Hey.
And my third son, Doug, hey. Doug taught me to become a better writer. I have been talking about this book I'm writing, this heavy book I'm writing that's going to change the world all of my life. But who gets to print first? Congratulations, Doug, on being your dad to print. A great writer. Now, Malcolm is good. He's a better father than I am. He has 5 kids, and he's working in Sydney, Australia. So he not only he had to change his culture and go down to Sydney and become a very effective father there. And Malcolm knows how to, he's done that, he's worked on Wall Street, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He knows how to get things done. So from Malcolm, I learned to be a better father, and I learned how to get things done. Now, Joe, where's Joe? Okay, good. Joe is smarter than me. Joe was accepted to MIT, Caltech, Harvard, and Stanford. He just like me to say that. And he went to Stanford and he studied computer science and chemistry and came out with an A- average in 4 years.
Wow.
So anyway, he was accepted to MIT as a graduate student, but he chose to go to Berkeley, and then he took a master's there in chemistry. He discovered that he did not love chemistry, so he did a degree in computer science in Michigan, which is a great school too. Now, I would like to introduce my sister, Winnie. From Winnie, when I reflect on my life, Winnie gave me the notion of what beauty is. So I have told her that until now. But she set my paradigm for what I appreciate in a wife. Oh, not a wife. Ooh, that's a hard thing. She defined my paradigm. Oh, I'm picking myself off the floor. But unfortunately, beauty isn't a person. Okay, anyway, there's no paradigm to it. Did you see that on the front of the slip? He's getting milk? And I'm just slipping all over the place when I say my sister. Anyway, when you kind of introduce, no, I can introduce Lynn, but I'd like for Stephanie to introduce Michael. So, Lynn, Allison, Scott. Lynn, when I ran the Boston Marathon in 1979 and 80, guess who was there at Wellesley cheering me on halfway along? It's about 13 and a half miles from Hopkinton to Wellesley and another 13 miles from there to Boston. Lynn was there cheering me on. And Stephanie is just a wonderful human being. She went to Brown and Orton, and she's done very well, and she has 4 kids, only 1 girl. And as I only have one, oh, pardon me, I miss the two most important people in the room. Malcolm, would you kindly introduce your 2 children, Tenny and Chikaya?
Tenny is here. Tenny is 19, and he has also lived both in Australia and in America. And I think he's enjoying this trip back. We went to various things that he wanted to do and explore, including the UN and Empire State Building. And Shikaya is 17. She's finishing up high school there. She's also looking at many opportunities in the future for her. And she's also explored New York on her own. You can imagine a nervous dad. We let her daughter go, and she did it. And she might go to school here, might go to school in Sydney. We just don't know. So it's
But you know, you're thinking about NYU too. Cool.
Yeah.
Good. NYU is not bad, but think about Cornell. Okay. Say again?
We'll bet you can go with us today.
Yeah. What? She has a granddaughter who lives here, and who knows, who has a few connections. Okay, Stephanie. Stephanie has 4 kids, 1 girl, 3 boys. But one of her sons, one of my grandnephews, if there's such a term as that, is here, and that's Michael. Please introduce Michael.
That's my son, Michael. Michael is a sophomore in high school. Michael is president of his class as a sophomore, and he was also president of his class as a freshman. He is driven. He is interested in engineering, so he's also a chip off the old block. And he visited Cornell today and liked it a fair amount.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, Cornell has a great engineering school. Anyway, I was thinking about introducing everybody here, and I will do that if there's any urgency that I do it. But I don't have to. We can get back to the party or whatever. Oh, well, that's good. Winnie suggested, who's always telling me what to do. And I appreciate that continuing. We can introduce yourselves. We can start with David.
David Henderson. Retired from Cornell and working in schools.
Okay. Oh, but also, David has done some other work, which is, I consider, very good. He's worked on what's called the Alfred Project, done in conjunction with Robert Moses, who created the Mississippi Project in 1964. So David's sister was part of Bob Moses' group who went into Mississippi and changed the world. John?
I am John Carter. I have to say I'm very impressed with you, man.
Thank you.
Now I know where my brother, I consider him my brother, we are involved with many discussions and actions and science, philosophy, sociology, anthropology, and all the whole work. He is my true brother. I believe he's a genius.
Oh!
You see all of that stuff. Wait a second, oh! Sometimes he'll let you know that he is.
Well,
Thank you for having me in the presence of such a blessed family.
yeah. We talked, we introduced a lovely
This is
wife.
my wife, Sonia, and she's been with me for quite some time, and she was also present with the earlier part of your family. Remember, we used to go camping.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
sure.
remind them.
Sure.
We used to go camping together and
Yeah.
playing in their bedrooms with all the toys in
Yeah.
their houses and
Yeah.
everything. So she's here to help celebrate.
Okay. Josephine Allen was the first tenured African American woman in Cornell University. Josephine?
Happy birthday.
Okay.
And welcome to Ithaca to those of you who are here. Very nice to be here.
Shekinah, you've already introduced, you've been introduced. Would you like to say something else, sweetheart? Okay. Winnie?
Well, I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be here with this family that I know and don't see very often. So it's wonderful to be here and welcome my brothers into the 80s.
Winnie's 2 years old. She's a year and 11 months older than I am. So?
Yeah.
Okay, pardon me. Would you have some more to say?
No.
If I shut Winnie up, I'll hear it for another couple of years. Sue Hurd.
I'm Sue Hertz. I'm a former neighbor of Al's, and I run a local text-to-speech synthesis company, and I'm also an artist.
Wonderful. Yeah, fantastic artist. So, Jen, her husband, has ridden his bike from east to west across the United States and from north to south across the United States. And with, tell us about it, Jen, and whatever you want to say.
I'm Jim Sharkins. I'm Sue Hertz's husband.
You got that right.
And that's my claim to fame. No, I've ridden quite a bit, actually. I've gone from Yorktown, Virginia to Portland, Oregon, and from Mobile, Alabama to Owen Sounds, Canada, and from Vancouver to Tijuana. And, also from Missoula, Montana to Anchorage, Alaska. And I used to work for IBM also in manufacturing in Ithaca, which is about 50 miles away from here. And I'm retired and watching grandkids.
Now, Steve Johnson. Steve Johnson, I mean, I tell you that he's a Cornell vice president, so I'll have to say that. But he's also, I was once cutting down a tree.
A tree?
Steve Johnson's actually mine. And I was cutting down a tree in my house, and I cut down many trees around when we were living in Wapages Falls. And so I said, cutting down a tree is a piece of cake, because I'd done them manually. I'd done them solo, I should say. But I got in trouble with this tree. And so I called on Steve to help me. And Steve doesn't recall because he's such a good, helpful person to everybody. So Steve Johnson.
I really think the tree was on my property. And I've been nice about it all the years. We had the pleasure, my wife Lorraine over here had the pleasure of living beside Al. Great neighbor. Got to know a couple of the guys, especially Doug and Reggie, when they were there, about the ages of our sons Chris and Mark.
Yeah.
Last thing I would add, Al is a charter member of a group called the Sedentaries. Does that give you any idea of sedentary? This is a bunch of guys who go to dinner or go to a baseball game about once a month. You know, no raucous, home by 8:30 kind of group. But have always appreciated knowing Al. Watch Al go by my house jogging, you know, and see him in action. And we're pleased to be here today.
Very well.
That group used to be called Boys Night Out, by the way.
Yeah.
And when it was founded, I gagged.
Yeah. And, you know, Steve mentioned Lorraine and his son, one of his sons, Mark, because we didn't know Christopher, because I think Christopher's older than Mark, right?
Yeah.
But we did know Mark. And Lorraine is just a very wonderful, open, loving person. And I think she induced Mark, I'm not sure, but she induced Mark to help Doug when he was first coming to Ithaca. So I really appreciate that out there. And also, she induces her husband to take her to Italy about once a year, right? Okay. So, I mean, as long as we have a couple
So I just want to say one thing about the Sedentaries. Once a year, there's an event that the women are invited to.
we call it the
I
wife.
forgot, yeah, the wifely outing. You can see why I was gagging when this thing first started. But my impression of Al the very first time, Al showed up with flowers, and he put them at each woman's plate. So you can see what a charmer he is.
But she used to try. Okay, Bill Barton. Bill and I have he's another part of this group, is Jim, and he's another part of the Sedentaries, and so he is a geophysicist? Did I get that close? But he also, but you'll correct me, but he also has this wonderful hard cider business, which is just north of the mechanic, which he invited me out to last year, and it was just a delight to go out there. So Bill?
Well, I did not help Al cut down any trees. But yeah, we've had a good time in this group, and Al was game enough to come out and get the $10 tour, and we showed him all of the toys we've got out there to get ourselves into trouble. And for those of you that don't know, anybody in the geological sciences, the requirement is to drink heavily, and I finally decided to just become a professional in that area. So yeah, it's a pleasure to have you as part of the group, Al, and also to get together occasionally for some of our other off-topic conversations.
Thanks very much, Bill. Now, the next person I'd like to introduce is Dick Seeley. Dick in our department meetings has been outspoken. And that may be an understatement, right there. Anyway, but what I really like about Dick, we've been to the NASNY meeting, and which is National Society of Black Engineers. And what I tell the students there is that Professor Sheely is actually graduated Black PhD in electrical engineering. Dick?
There's not much to say. Al and I were colleagues in electrical engineering, and always considered Al a good colleague, and we got to be friends during his time at Cornell, and I was shocked to learn he's been retired as long as he has. So time has moved fast since you left.
Okay, I just met Cheryl, right?
Amber.
Amber. Okay, I apologize, Amber. Yeah. So anyway, Amber is a computer, she keeps the bugs out of computers. So if you could just tell us what you do, and if you can tell us which side you take again, you've told me. But do you take Microsoft side or the government side in the recent dispute? Apple side. Or Apple or the United States government in the recent dispute. I apologize.
Well, I do cybersecurity, and I take Apple's side because we don't need to have built-in backdoors, less security for yourself, but also because people can already break in, so we don't need backdoors anyway.
Okay. And Loxley Edmondson, he's a professor of Africana, and when I retired teaching in electrical engineering, he was also there, and he's a guy who asked me to advise him how to retire gracefully. And so I'm still waiting for that call for us to sit down together, for us to chat about how to retire gracefully. Anyway.
Very, very true.
And also,
I'm glad to see that in retirement you're the same old Al. So, let me just say something. I've been a professor in Africana here since 1983, and you know, wherever Africana studies is, Al must be there. I didn't have to go finding Al. Al found us. And it's amazed me, even in retirement, he's always there attending our functions. You know, he is a genuine Afrocentrist, if you may put it that way, and this is Al. Another thing I remember, one little incident here, some grandson, I don't remember the name and whatnot, but Al had a connection with him, and Al pushed him very hard. My memory was, you're reading everything possible, and it reminded me of my upbringing, where I had a father like that. He was a teacher, and it was books, 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 books. And I just wondered if you were doing the right thing. And I remembered something that happened before my late father passed at the age of 96. One day I said to him, in his 80s, I said, Dad, let me tell you now, you know, you pushed me very hard, you know, I should have become a rebel. I don't know why I didn't. I would call you an educational terrorist. And he looked at me and said, educational terrorist, I do not mind the end product. So having said that, I thought of you too with your children and your family and seeing it here, the way in which you have all interconnected. And that's one of the beautiful things about knowing you, Al, and your support for Africana and our mission.
Thank you very much, Loxley. But Loxley didn't mention that. He told me about a meeting in Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica, and he invited me, and I showed up.
Indeed, of course. Well, I knew you would turn up.
And Stephanie?
Yeah.
Lorraine, you've spoken, right? But Stephanie Nevels, her father and I went to the same high school in Chicago, a place called Tilden Technical High School, which was a very, very good school at the time. As a matter of fact, there are 3 physicists, African-American physicists, who take part regularly in the National Society of Black Physicists meeting. And they all went to Tilden. One graduated in 39, another graduated in 54, and that was me. Another graduated in the 60s, and he actually explodes H-bombs, so that's another matter. He went the wrong place, but Joe knows it. Anyway, so please, Steph.
Oh, I should say something. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, my father was definitely not one of those physicists, but my father's birthday is tomorrow, and he will be 78, so they actually met, and they remembered a couple of teachers that they knew in common, so that was kind of cute to see. So Al and I met at First Fridays, which is a get-together that happens once a month here at North Star, which is fun. And as Lorraine mentioned about the roses, so he's quite the smooth operator at First Fridays.
Oh.
And then, To no effect. That is true. That is true. But that's only because
It gives them a good rep, though.
But it does, and my hobby is that I make ice cream, and so I have this ice cream social once a year, and Al faithfully comes every year, and one year he brought roses and passed them out to random women at the social, so yes, he's quite the smooth operator, but I have really enjoyed getting to know Al, and you are very young at heart, which definitely inspires me as I go forward in life, so whenever I feel like, oh, I'm feeling old today. That's ridiculous. Al is out running right now. So, yeah. So,
Go ahead, please.
no, that's it. That's all I wanted
Okay,
to say.
Stephanie also went to the same high school the president's wife went to, Whitney Young, in Chicago. And that was an elite school in her day. And so she went to the same school that Michelle Obama graduated from. Were you at the same time?
No,
as
she's
Michelle?
about 6 years older than 7 years older than me. So no, we weren't. But yes, I remember that. But that you remember that is because I told you that like 4 years ago. Like that's, and it was like in passing. So I'm just saying, like I probably wouldn't remember that. So
Well, anyway, I was talking stuff. So when you're talking stuff, your mind is expanded. Margaret Washington. Margaret Washington is professor of history, and she routinely appears on places like CNN or PBS talking history. And she's written some very, very good books, which are classics. And so, please.
Well, happy birthday, Al, and it's really great to see you. Al and I are neighbors. He jogs or trots by my house. And in the summer, when I'm out working in the garden, we have great conversations. We've also had a couple of meals actually, over his latest book, over which we've argued about the origins of the human species. But he's a great conversationalist and incredibly knowledgeable. I still disagree with him about Harriet Beecher Stowe, but I really love talking to him, and he's been a really good friend.
Well, I appreciate it very much. And it's not always agreement that's important. It's just being able to express your ideas and opinions honestly, because by that you grow. And you know, it's nice to admit that you're wrong, because most things people do are wrong. Oh, no. There's a famous physicist named Mary Gall-Mann who created the notion of a quark. And he would say that he would start off every day with a pad of yellow paper, and by the end of the day, it was all the trash. The inventor of the quark, a Nobel Prize winner. Okay, Muna Ndula.
Yeah, I'm Muna Ndula. I teach in the law faculty at Cornell. I came to know Al, I think, just like the last 2 years of his teaching, and we quickly became, very good friends, and we met regularly. We enjoyed our conversations, always very challenging, and we don't always agree, just like I think Margaret said. But I really think that it's been wonderful knowing you, and happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Okay, now there are 3 people who came in late. David Sparrow. David Sparrow is a person who finds a way to get to Europe several times a year, because he owns a wonderful wine shop in Ithaca, and he also has 2 daughters, right?
Yeah.
One has gone to Harvard and has distinguished herself there. So, David.
What would you like me to say? You're a great guy.
Whatever you would say that would make you look good.
Well, you're a friend of mine. I respect your abilities in many realms. You're an excellent raconteur. You're a patient man. You're a great listener. And as some of their speakers have suggested, you remain very, very youthful. I hope you live another 80 years.
Thanks very much, David.
Sir.
Appreciate it. Okay. There's Trey Waller. Trey came in late. Now, I wanted to invite Trey, but I didn't think he would show up. So I was kind of circumspect in who I invited. So I invited Cassie, and Cassie says, I will come if I can bring Trey. But Trey, I want to know that I would have invited you anyway, but I just didn't think you would show. So that's why. Anyway, Trey Waller has a PhD, and he's a very, very good leader, very effective with people, and he runs the McNair student program and other things. So if you could just tell us more, I'd appreciate that, Jed.
Sure. And Al, I would have shown up if you would have invited me. I do travel a lot for my job, and first and foremost, I would like to say happy birthday. Celebrate it and enjoy it. I hope you have many more. So I currently run the Ronald McNair Scholars Program. So we start with students in their sophomore year and help them learn what it's like to be a PhD before getting there. And we are at 80% of our students entering a PhD. This program's been running for about 4 years, and we are very proud of it. We just inducted 16 students. They are first generation, low income, and underrepresented students. And I used to work over in the College of Engineering, diversity programs in engineering, so we could talk about bringing your nephew into the College of Engineering, because we would love to have you here at Cornell. And it's a pleasure working with Al. Al has done many great things for the college and been a great mentor for men of color at Cornell. I remember him coming in. He has many great ideas, and he's going to tell you what he thinks. And I love that, because we need leaders that will speak their mind and bring that perspective, because we don't know everything. So we need to have dialogue. So again, happy birthday, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, Cassie. Cassie is the heart and soul of so many things that happen that are good at Cornell. So Cassie Joseph, please. In fact, Stephanie mentioned the first Friday meeting. And so the last first Friday meeting, now Jed is a co-owner. And he's responsible for all the good food and drink. And so maybe we can have a nice round of applause for Jed. So we were talking about, at the end of the last meeting, this is April still. Okay. How can I forget? All right. So at the end of the first Friday meeting for April, we just sat down and talked about how we could get more people in here. And then I saw this, and I was preparing my house. I knew I was going to have people over, and I was preparing my house for this event. And so I said, well, I was saying, how can we get more people here? And so we tossed around a couple of ideas. And then, the next day I realized that, shucks, I should have my event here. I wouldn't have to do all the work. And I had decided to have it at my house, because my house isn't clean unless there's a good reason to do it. But for the cleaning that was needed to be done at my house, I could not have done it in the time that was required. So I just realized the next day that I should call Jed and talk to him about this event being held here. And Jed was so very cooperative in getting the event here. So maybe Jed, perhaps you can say something later. But if you don't want to, you can talk about your business. But anyway, Cassie.
Hey everyone, happy birthday, Al. I have the pleasure of working with faculty and staff at Cornell, primarily to help them stay at Cornell. So I'm the director for retention, and I put together different activities, engagement, and inclusive events so that employees can meet one another, connect with one another, and find their community beyond Cornell. And I have to say, in the work that I do, it's very key and important to connect with individuals that care about community and care about people. And it's been a great pleasure to know Al and to see the impact he has on the different communities that he walks into. From the women of color, the men of color, and the First Fridays, which are oftentimes young professionals. We really appreciate your presence, and thank you for your presence and all that you bring every time you're with us. So I think there would have been more people that would have come if you extended the invitation. So Trey is just one of many.
I apologize for being so short-sighted. Anyway, Jed, and then I'd like, if any of my kids, my family wants to say anything, you can say anything you want to. But I first want to say, Winnie, I'm very happy that you suggest that we talk, have everyone talk. Jed?
Sure. Well, thank you for not meeting. I have the same problem at my house. And I'm somebody who grew up in Ithaca. I've been here since I was 2. My dad went to Cornell and then got stuck here. It's a good thing now. But just thank you all for coming and coming to celebrate Al.
wonderful addition to First Fridays and to the North Star community in general. So thank you and enjoy.
Thank you very much. Now, Joe, you want to say anything? I guess, how can he say no when I
Small
say
correction. So
I should have
I
asked.
don't know.
Go ahead.
I don't know if I think we're of comparable intelligence, and so I don't think I don't know how to measure it. So I wouldn't say that. I think we're all.
In other words, he knows he's smarter than I
No.
am. So he's just being humble about it. Anyway, okay, Big Mouth.
Oh.
Okay, but if you want, I'll withdraw. If you want to say something. Well, no, I'm gonna go down the line. No, I think father's privilege.
Father's.
Thanks, Joe.
Look, happy birthday, Dad. It's great to be here. I'm really happy to see all my brothers back together and my kids to be able to see this, and my extended family and friends. So this is wonderful, and you've done it. You're the star. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome, indeed. Go.
Well, it's a privilege to be here. From Dad, I learned determination, I learned courage. I learned the importance of education, and I value education. I learned what it means to really kind of step out of yourself and look at the world as a community, and to do your best to be your best self every day. You know, he teaches me not to necessarily compete with another person, but to compete with your last best effort. And I take the tools and the skills that he's taught me in every manner of life that I found myself. And so I take Dad with me everywhere I go. He's in Ithaca, but he's a part of all of my decision-making processes. And for that, you know, I appreciate you and for all the time and investment you put into me. So, happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Look, I can learn how to talk trash from this young man. Raphael.
You don't give in, for better for worse, but that's what allowed me to stand up to you to do art. So, thank you. And no, I mean, I know.
I agree with you.
Thank you. And it's a quality thing, and I've learned that over just, various people in my life, whether girlfriends or just friends or whatever. A lot of people have a problem standing up to their parents, and I don't have that problem. So, but thank you, seriously, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
You're welcome from the bottom.
Yeah.
Reg.
I love you, Dad.
I love you.
All right. Happy birthday.
That's good. But there's a person I've met, Happiness Beluga. So when I was looking your way, I didn't see you there. So please, Happiness Beluga, who is a teacher of Swahili in the Africana department. So please, Happiness Beluga, say something to charm our consciousness. And you're the last person to talk.
Thank you. I would like to say happy birthday in Kiswahili first.
Yes.
And then we're going to say asante, asante, thank you. Heri ya siku ya kuzaliwa. That means happy birthday.
Thank you.
Asante.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Now, I would like for us to take some pictures, group and family. So if we can start doing that right now, because I told Jed we were going to be out of here by 4. So, okay, good. But anyway, so if we can take pictures as a group and as a family, I'd really appreciate it. So, can we start that now? Okay. Okay. Maybe my sons and I first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The sun would like to be better outside.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, no, but if we have to go outside, we have flashes. Okay. Because if we go outside, then we lose ourselves. So we're right here. But whatever, I'm open to that. Outside?
It would be good to do it now.
Yeah, I think now right here, right now inside. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, cool.
And then,
No, no, and I
Okay.